Yes.
All right. All right. Happy Thursday and welcome to the power of the pivot. So we're going to get started in just a few minutes. We're going to give it a minute, but we're going to do a quick little tech check. So we have Val from the Topia team here with us. Val, if you can confirm if you are seeing us and hearing us on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Yes, I am.
All right, fantastic. So excited, you all, to bring this timely topic, the power of the pivot pathways to purpose and profitability. Purpose, passion, and profitability. So we'll give it about one more minute, allowing others to join, and then we will dive in and get started. I hope your week has been going great. Um, really excited to dive into this topic and talk about our pivot journey as in terms of the Utopia brand. So please share with us, um, where you're joining from. Welcome, welcome. Throw your name in the chat and let us know where you are joining from. And Val, you can go ahead and start with some of those prompts. Let's see here. So Val, it looks like that the prompts are going into the private chat. So maybe you can pop it into, let's see. Hi, Disha, Arizona. Awesome. Kate. Hey, Kate. It's always good to see former Topia community members on the line. So it looks like we will want to put those prompts in the comments, Val. There you go. So welcome, welcome, everybody. All right. So let's go ahead and get this party started. So thanks for joining. Again, please share where you're from. Welcome to the Power of the Pivot, Pathways to Purpose, Passion, and Profitability. I am Naya Powell, founder and CEO of Topia and Utopia Global Wellness Retreats. Just super excited to share this transformative topic, our transformative journey as we pivoted a couple of times since COVID and really explore how important it is to really lean into the strategic pivots, but not even just strategic pivots. First, the pivot of our mindset, because that's where everything starts, right? It's the power of the mind and thinking about what it is we think about and how we're seeing our skills, our passion, our purpose, and how it aligns with what the world needs. So, this is actually going to be a pathway and a conversation around pathways that lead us to personal fulfillment and professional success. And at the end of the day, we need resources to make it all work. So, as a purpose driven entrepreneur, I just could not be more excited to have this conversation with you all. So, let's see who else we might have. And Val. All right. So Val's going to help keep that chat going and flowing. And if there's anything that I need to lean into or a comment or question that maybe I have not seen or I missed, even though I'll be checking the chat regularly, we want this to be a conversation. So please lean in. What are you hoping to gain from today? Are you in the middle of a pivot? Val will be adding more and more of those conversation starters, but we want to hear from you at the end of the day. So let's get into it. So a little bit more about me and my background. I am, as I shared, the founder and CEO of Topia and Utopia Loving Global Wellness Retreats. And so this conversation is near and dear to me because I have been pursuing my passion for many years. As you can see, a little bit of our trajectory, our history as a company. And so we started as Spa Utopia, and that was well over a decade ago. And that was a company that really provided services, luxury spa and wellness services, first events, and then we moved from events into the digital spa space and being the Uber for spa services and working with high-end hospitality companies like the Ritz-Carlton, also working with brands like the NFL and other major corporations, and working with a lot of celebrity clients too. So started that division of the company in Atlanta, expanded into North Carolina, and that's when we kind of leaned into the tech side of the business and being the Uber for spa, where you could customize and all of those good things. Customize your aromatherapy, customize your relaxation music. And as we were continuing to grow, we're hitting a really good stride of working with the NFL. I was actually still working in corporate. And I think that's important to talk about, because a lot of times people think to be an entrepreneur, to be a founder, you need to be doing it full time. But one of the things I will say, real talk, is it takes money to make money. So where is the money coming from, right? And so that's something that we always have to keep top of mind, because it is very hard to thrive when you're trying to just barely survive, y'all, right? It takes up a lot of mental bandwidth. So with that being said, we actually got a great opportunity to work with the NFL. Decided that was my time to take the leap, became a full-time founder, became a best-selling author in 7 weeks. And also launched our first ever global wellness retreat in Belize. And that actually all took place in 2019. So 2019 was just an incredible year for us. Hey, Aisha, one of my long-term college besties from New York City and physician. I'm so happy to see Aisha. And Aisha actually was a part of our first inaugural Utopia Global Wellness Retreat in Belize and most recent one in Bali. So I love the full circle moments, that holistic moments, right? So I share all that to say that things were going great. You see that swoop going up? The swoop was going up for us, right? It was a sold out retreat. It was phenomenal. And that was my way of expanding the brand a little bit more, leading into, creating not only Utopia living for the company, but the Utopia mindset, which means all areas of our lives can work together in harmony and creating those spaces for others. And I'm going to come back to that. So this is where we started. But remember, I said 2019. So fast forward just a few months later, what happened? March of 2020, we were full fledged in COVID. So thank you, Disha. I see, hoping to gain practical strategies on how to pivot effectively when market conditions shift. Love that. So just a few months later, after all of this incredible trajectory and success, COVID hit. So when COVID hit, no one was coming out of their house. We were social isolating. We were not going into the office. So all of our corporate wellness clients that we were providing yoga, mindfulness, spa services for, that all stopped. No one was traveling, so no one was staying in hotels. So our key partnerships with the Ritz-Carlton Atlanta and working with the Westin and the Hilton and the Hyatt and all of these major 4 and 5 star hotels, all of that came to a halt. I was looking at the trends of how many businesses were going out of business within 30 days, 60 days, and especially businesses that had, owners and founders of color were disproportionately being impacted. And I said, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to go out of business. Who does, right? And I said, we're going to have to really get creative quickly. So that leads into the pivot. So at the time I was working at Red Hat, you see the Red Hat there, you see the Ritz-Carlton, you see the NFL. Around right before I took the leap, we also became a member of Google for Startups, which expanded our professional network, and we had to be selected for that program. So all of this comes together. So looking at the news, looking at the market, looking at what's happening out here in the economy and on the news cycles, we saw that mental health was taking a hit. We're all of a sudden socially isolating. We're afraid. All of these things. We're not in our normal day-to-day life, and people were dying. Right. So with that, I said, "Wow, I am going to really need to rethink this company." And so decided to use my HR and global talent acquisition background. Much of my corporate background was in that space, to say, you know what? I know how to recruit people from around the world. I've done it for the largest companies. I've done it for huge brands, and actually leaned into that skill and built a global wellness team. So we had people from Paris, from South Africa, from the Philippines, from the United States, and built a global team, and decided to launch a soft pilot program of offering different types of cultural wellness. Hi, Sean. Good to see you from Chicago. Hey. So leaning into those skills and really building a global team, offering globally relevant wellness. One of the things I knew from working at Red Hat, from working at Intuit, from working at IBM, and many other companies is that most large companies have global teams, people that are seated everywhere around the world. And I wanted to be able to speak to that. So that's what we did. And we did a soft launch around Thanksgiving, focused on gratitude and mindfulness and movement, virtual classes using Zoom. So, no matter where you are in the world, you could tune into these classes for joy and resilience. And then really created a whole new website and had a whole new team by January of 2021. And that's when we pivoted into the digital health and wellness space and decided to lean in. We evolved a little bit more and decided that we wanted to be able to scale and grow by working with corporations and bringing wellness to people in a place where they're getting burned out, and that's the workplace. So this is a little bit behind my pivot story. So you can see how we followed market trends within months. We had to be agile, we had to be quick, we had to be decisive. And success follows momentum. And so one of the things about being able to pivot successfully is being able to move expeditiously, being able to move quickly. And it doesn't mean you have all the answers, because as a founder, as a CEO, you have to be resourceful and you're not going to always have all the answers. But when you have an idea that you feel strongly about, then you need to move. And with that momentum comes more momentum. Fast forward, we started getting more and more press, as you can see here. We actually ended up getting an opportunity as soon as COVID started to settle down. I went to a huge conference for women leaders in Vegas, actually did a coaching session. So I also have a background not only as an author, an executive coach, and wellness coach. So I want you all to start thinking about all the different skills that you have in your skill toolbox, if you will, and your areas of passion, right? Because a lot of times you these things can work together, and it's what will set you apart, whether you're in corporate, whether you're a physician, whether you're, no matter where you are professionally, it's bringing your whole self is what is going to set you apart and make you like no one else. And so here I am, invited. At this time, I was actually getting a lot of coaching opportunities with Facebook, Meta, like different organizations. And actually, one of my clients, who was a 9-time author, said, "Hey, you need to be on this executive coaching team in Vegas." So went to Vegas, was a part of this huge conference. I ended up coaching one of the executives for United Healthcare. She said, "I love everything about you and your business. We desperately need you at United Healthcare. We're burnt out with claims and all the things. Can you do a virtual retreat for us?" I said, "Absolutely." So we took our wellness packaging, programming, and coaching, and we did a virtual retreat. And when I tell you, I have never had a corporate group being so receptive. I mean, it was over, and like there were still 100 people left on the call and many executives. Fast forward, they nominated Topia at the time, Utopia Global Wellness, to be a partner of theirs and to work with their Optum division and their digital health and wellness partner. I didn't even know it was a possibility. I didn't know it was a thing. I wasn't looking for it. But the thing is when you start operating in your gifts, when you start stepping out on faith, then as a woman of faith, I will say the word says, scripture says, your gifts will make room for you. So it's not talking yourself out of something, but it's really leaning in to the thing. And that's what happened. And so to this day, we are a partner of the world's largest health plan through Optum. And so one thing led to another and led to another and more press opportunities. So now you can see a little bit of my pivot and the opportunity to since do global wellness retreats across 6 countries, 3 continents, work with industry leaders such as Oracle, Merck, Google. Red Hat was our first enterprise client, my former employer. It also says a lot about making sure that we are presenting ourselves with a spirit of excellence so people see us as a trusted brand individually, apart from our companies, because companies will change. Even as a founder and CEO, the Utopia brand has evolved, it's pivoted, it's changed. So it really ties to not just your pivot, your passion, your purpose, but doing it with a spirit of excellence has so much to do with your success and your brand. So now we're going to do another next dive, but let's see what we have in the chat here. So Disha says, yes, I'm currently navigating a career pivot as I adjust to a new location and culture. It is both exciting and challenging, but I see it as valuable opportunity to grow and to bring more purpose into my life. I love that. And so I would ask, we're going to weave in a few coaching questions here. I would love to ask, what are some of the areas that career-wise or professionally that you're thinking about pivoting into? And it doesn't have to be fully baked. Not no answer is a wrong answer. A lot of times we have to explore things to figure out if it's a right fit or what area of that thing we want to lean into more. So there's no wrong answer. So would love to hear from you all on that. All right. So this is a quote that I absolutely love. When we think about the pathways of pivoting, looking at market trends. We also want to really lean into that area of passion and purpose, especially if we're thinking about additional revenue streams as a consultant, as an entrepreneur, because it's not easy. And so it means you need to love what you're doing. And so I love this quote by Maya Angelou that says, success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it, right? So all of those things matter. So it's not just liking what you do, it's even how you do it. I will go further and say who you're doing it with, making sure you have an amazing team, which I'm very proud of our Utopia Global Wellness team, all of these things. And as I said earlier, just to restate, the Utopia Living philosophy believes that holistic harmony is essential. And I spell holistic with an W on purpose. We do as a brand because it really emphasizes the health of our whole lives, our whole being. And so it's essential in order really to have that peak fulfillment, that sense of purpose and passion, mentally, spiritually, physically, relationally, and professionally. So, in this class, a few of your key takeaways that you can expect to learn, and this is a free introductory class. So, this means that this is just the tip of the iceberg, and there's so much more with our 4-part series. But today, my goal is to share with you the power of strategic pivoting, understanding how making mindset and strategic shifts can unlock new opportunities and growth. If we are not confident, if we're not believing what it is that we're working on and working towards, it's mindset. If we're not confident, if we're not assertive, and even if you're not fully baked, you need to lean into those skills and those gifts that you have, right? And operate in the affirmative of what you do know, which is why in all of our team meetings, we start with mindfulness meets gratitude, focusing on the abundance of what is, the abundance of your gifts, the abundance of your experiences. My experiences in corporate and global talent acquisition, being a third generation entrepreneur, it has given me so much insight and confidence that I understand what executives face in terms of burnout. I understand what it means to have teams and people and payroll and families tied to your organization and your vision. I understand the stress of needing to have strategic direction. So you have a whole set of gifts and skills and experiences that you can bring and that you can bring confidently because of that. So that is how we unlock new opportunities and growth. And then cultivating resilience and agility. Resilience doesn't just happen. Resilience actually happens from going through challenging times. It's like that diamond that has been cultivated, but it was in the coal. And so there's a level of pressure that is required in order to get to a diamond. And so we don't just get strong. We don't wake up like that, right? We have to build that through being able to persevere through different challenging moments. And that is how we develop our inner strength, as well as agility. There's an expression that I love, a term used often in the yoga world, and it says we must bend so we don't break. And so, with all of the uncertainty happening in the economy, with the cuts, we're going to talk about that, the real numbers of what that is looking like. we have to be agile. We have to be flexible. And I knew that with Spa Utopia. I knew that with COVID. I knew that with even from Topia to where we are today. And I'm going to lean into that more in the conversation of where we're pivoting even further towards with global wellness tourism and executive wellness and what that looks like in today's day and age, right? But we have to be able to do that not only with confidence, but what's going to give us the strength and the bandwidth to be resilient and agile is our wellness and our self-care. It is, cultivating a routine for yourself. We just are in the middle right now of self-care September. We just started a self-care challenge that Val is leading within the team. And so it is the meditation. If you're a spiritual person, it is the prayer. It is connecting in community. It is eating healthy. It is getting rest so your body can restore. It is all of those things that really are going to give you the fuel to show up well. And if you're not feeding your well-being, then you're not going to be able to have the fuel to run this race and to be able to stand the test of time with resilience and agility. So athletes don't just show up on the court, they're training all year round. So we have to think about how are we nourishing our mental health? How are we removing the things that are not serving us well? Decluttering our mind, staying away from team members talked about doing a digital social media detox because you're taking in too many different things. Maybe doing a purging and a cleaning of things that are not fueling you in terms of discipline. It's not just motivation, it's being disciplined. If it's not life-giving, if it's not breathing in ideas for new strategies or well-being, is it content that is serving you well? If not, then maybe it's something we need to get rid of. So it's all of those things, right? And again, your physical activity, all of the things. And then aligning your purpose with passion and profitability. I keep putting in passion because it is so important. You do need to be passionate. One of my personal mission statement is empowering people to live passionately on purpose holistically. And it allows me to do that in a lot of different ways. So we need to think about what are we passionate about? What is going to get us out of the bed when we're exhausted and don't feel like it? So these are all the things that we need to be thinking about. And we're all created with a very unique and divine purpose. We're created for serving the world in a way that no one else can. And it's because of the sum total of our life experiences, our unique perspectives, our knowledge, all of the things, the way we see the world and the way we show up in the world. And the world sometimes can have us shrink back, but I want to encourage you to move into that more than ever before. We also want to think about some of the key takeaways that you can expect for today is really looking at pivoting as a strategic response, not a setback. And I'm a person that I don't even use the word failure because I feel like as long as you've learned, it's really a lesson. It's really a growth opportunity. It's not a failure. I think the only time it can be a failure is if you just keep on repeating the same thing over and over again, and you're not choosing to learn from that experience. So it's not a word that I really use. Building resilience, equipping yourself with the tools to effectively manage change and emerge stronger. And then lastly, purpose-driven action, aligning your everyday action with an overarching purpose for lasting success. A lot of those things, sometimes the things that we're passionate about are things that when you think about what really is something that can make you maybe angry if it's not handled well. What are some of the things that can keep you up at night? What are some of the things that have just really resonated deeply with you to your core? A lot of times it ties directly to your unique personal experience. It could be as a physician. I just spent many weeks in the hospital with my father who had a health challenge, and he is now home, thank God, and doing well. But I noticed that, there were some medical professionals that are passionate about what they do and some that are not. So that might leave somebody to say, you know what, I am going to become an advocate because of the experiences that I have had with my loved one in a hospital. So I am so passionate about this thing, or it could be working with children, a person that maybe went through their own challenges. It could be, for example, foster care systems. So now that they want to be a foster parent because they want to have an experience that either they had, or maybe they want to be the person that can provide an experience they wish they had. So these are all different things that might help to spark your idea box and your creativity around that. Any questions or thoughts in the chat? Let's see. Feel free to throw something in there if you have any thoughts. And as we're talking through this, if you're having your own aha moments, things that you're passionate about, share with us. What are you passionate about? What do you feel is a part of your purpose? Even if you're not actively working in it right now, I want you to write down at least 1 to 2 things that you're passionate about. I also want you to write 1 or 2 things that you feel connect with your purpose. And if you're struggling with that, you can put that too. All right. So now I want us to really define. I love definitions. As we talk about this word pivot, what is pivot, right? So as we talk about pivot in the context of perfect purpose and profitability, a pivot is much more than a simple change. A pivot is a strategic redirection. And you all, right now, with everything we're living through the post-COVID, semi-COVID, through um, administration changes to cuts to pending wars happening around the world, all the things, burnout, everything we do needs to be strategic. We don't need to be out here just kind of taking things by happenstance because the stakes are too high. So it's also an informed shift. So yes, to be strategic means you're informing yourself. You're thinking about your approach. You're looking at what is the market. You're looking at where are there opportunities. You're doing a Google search. You're looking at competition. You're paying attention to what's happening in the news. And you're looking at what's happening all around you and saying, where is there a need? Where is there a gap? And then cultivating your vision around that in your business model. Okay, this is my purpose, this is my passion. I actually see some gaps. How can I make money? Are people already doing it? How can I do it uniquely? How can I do it better? Seeing all of those things. It's about recognizing new opportunities or challenges and then boldly. And I do say boldly because, again, success doesn't come from thinking about it. It comes from doing it. It comes from motion and momentum. Boldly adapting your path to unlock greater potential. And so that can be everything from attending a workshop to taking a class online to interviewing people, taking someone to lunch that's already doing it. That could be a potential partner or client, or doing a beta test, starting with even a survey. There's so many ways to get started that you can get started with a 2 hour a week commitment, and then you'll notice that you're energized to start leaning into that even more. A pivot also requires, again, agility, resilience. Most things don't go well the first time. Okay. It usually means you have to try it 2 and 3 and 4 times. And so, but every time you come back to it and you don't quit, you're now sharper, better, wiser, more informed. Now you know what doesn't work well. So now you can take that and say, okay, that did not work. Not going to do that again. Let me reshape this and actually go at it again, right? In a deep understanding of your core values, because everything's not for everybody. So you might approach something one way and then realize, like, I want to do this business, but I don't want to do it with people of low integrity. Um, or I want to do this business. I know I need help, and I know that the help that I have isn't maybe, qualified to get us to the next step. So maybe I need to take a step back to take a leap forward so I can get 1 or 2 great people on my team. Or maybe I need to sharpen my own saw a little bit more with a little bit more research and study. So these are all the things that really go into doing something new, right? If you haven't done it before, it's going to take a while to get better and better. And that's where life experience comes in. Okay. Good. I see some things here. Disha says, I'm passionate about collaboration, continuous learning, and building meaningful connections. That's great. Sean, I'm passionate about family and growth. They are my main driving forces. I love that. Kay, I'm passionate about learning and understanding different facets of the human experience through art. That's really specific, and I like that a lot. So, for each of you that answered the question, and if you haven't, feel free to drop something in the chat. My next question, I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but the next question is there any sort of business idea or concept that you've thought about that actually matches your passion and your values? Because what I see here is passion and values intertwined, and that's really what we want. So put something in the chat if anything comes to mind for you. So, Aisha, educating patients to advocate for themselves. Absolutely. I love that. We need that desperately. Aisha and she's been a gem when it comes to that. And we need that desperately. So, I want us to also understand the stats, the data. My team will tell you that everything that we're doing right now, especially when it comes to marketing, has to be data driven. It can't just be pretty. It's what is creating engagement, what is meeting a need, where are we seeing impact. If it's not making impact, then we don't need to do it just to do it. So this is why you always want to be informed with data. So one of the things I want to share is the way we are being impacted with burnout, not just in the US, but globally. So, according to the World Health Organization, they found that 77%, almost 80% of full time employees are experiencing burnout, and at least sometimes. And 23%, almost 1 out of 4 people, feel burnt out almost all the time. Y'all, that's no way to live. And I have lived like that. So I know. And this is why I'm thankful that we have a company that allows people to engage in wellness classes anytime, anywhere, and retreats to get away to go up, right? And then we also see another stat here that we see that 1 in 2 workers, approximately 50%, are at risk. So if they don't already have burnout, then 1 out of 2 of those remaining folks are highly likely. Executive burnout. So, according to Deloitte, found that 52% of executives report feeling burned out and exhausted. And let's get into the job losses. So, this is really impacting just our sense of anxiety. I know way too many people that have been impacted by the cuts. Topia was impacted Q1. A lot of our corporate contracts were impacted, either didn't happen in Q1 or shifted to another quarter, and not the same amount of revenue they were originally contracted for. So most people are feeling the impact of this in some way, shape, or form. So when we look at the job losses to date in 2025, 2.8 million job losses year to date, and the year's not over. We're in mid-September. So you know that these stats are probably at least 1 to 2 months old, because that's how stats work, right? 2.8 million. Okay. So that, not to doom and gloom and to be scary. I am a optimistic realist, but I believe that we have to, you know, prepare for the worst while expecting the best. And so I want to prepare you all to think about, if something were to happen, how do you have multiple revenue streams that build on your knowledge, your expertise, your purpose, and your passion, right? Because we need to be thinking about that and cultivating that, right? And I also want to share that one of the things that we are leaning into, because we did see those cuts, we did directly see that impact starting the year off stronger than ever, and seeing it all kind of swoop away, right? Most of it anyway. So, what we decided to do was do a strategic deep dive of our financials as a company and really analyze, where do we see the most consistent revenue that is least disrupted. And we saw a trend. We saw a trend that our retreats consistently bring in revenue every year. It doesn't require the same long sales cycle of business to business sales, which can be 9 to 14 months. We put in a lot of legwork, a lot of relationship building to get those clients all queued up for Q1. but a lot of those people are no longer with those companies, or those budgets have been cut. So we had to quickly say that we need to lean into an area that is more consistent, is not as impacted. Those individuals can make these final decisions, and it doesn't take layers and layers and layers of hierarchy that can just be ripped out just like that. So with that being said, that leads to our current pivot that we're in now. And so we are continuing to offer wonderful classes through our subscription platform with Topia, tailored workshops, but we've actually leaned into more retreat offerings, offsites that we can provide, and all of that through our division, Utopia Global Wellness Retreats. And so now we're doing more in the space of wellness tourism. And while money is getting rolled back and taken away and cut in the spaces of HR and corporate wellness tourism, which again started in 2019 with our Belize retreat, it is 2025. Full circle, right? Area, labor of love. This wellness tourism market is on pace to be a $1.2 trillion market in 2 years. And we're almost in 2026. So less than 2 years. So we are now leaning into that. We're offering custom, private, curated wellness retreat experiences for corporations, for groups, civic organizations, and individuals, not only from a Utopia perspective with upcoming retreats in 2026, our annual retreat in Bali. We've added our first co-ed retreat in Ghana, but now we can offer these experiences that are curated just for organizations and groups and families and friends around wellness tourism across the world. We're now powered by Fora, so always looking at how do we add to our offerings with strategic partnerships, and that partnership allows us to now have access to over 7,000 top tier resorts and cruise lines around the world. So these are constant, I would say, demonstrations of agility and growth and expansion. So thinking about these things. So let's see what we have in the chat. So Dishes has professional networking platform with skill building. Okay, so that's a desire you have. Disha, is that something that you think you would want to start as a founder and CEO, or is it something like that you think you would like to work for a company that offers this? So let's hear that. And then Sean has, my educational focus is in mortuary science. However, I want to work with more families. Opening our own business requires so much work and patience, but doing so would allow us to work with families in a much more empathetic way. That is beautiful. And people need that, you know? Going through loss and grief is the hardest thing people will ever go through. And being able to do that with a family focus and an empathetic way, like, I feel like you would have more business that you could handle, honestly. So the world is thirsting for compassion and empathy. Okay, I see that, Disha. So that's great. Great to see this. I love it. As you think of other things, writing things makes it even more real, and it also makes it more of an imprint in your mind and in your brain. So keep it coming, keep sharing. Okay. So when we talk about cultivating resilience and agility, I touched on this earlier, but it's that mental resilience, the mindset shift. Everything starts in the mind. If you're and what you are thinking about, you're also bringing about. And not only are you bringing about, you're speaking it, right? So I want us to really understand that our words carry weight. Our words carry power. So even when we say, I can't, my father would always taught us, never say you can't without trying. And a lot of times, no means not right now. So not really embodying the mindset of can't and no. Just really cultivating that, continue to work towards what it is you desire and speaking life into it. I am working on starting my own practice around empathetic mortuary services. I'm currently doing the initial research. This is a future goal in business that my family and I are exploring. So this is the way you can put it out there, because you may change your mind and that's okay. But while you're doing it, speak life into that, for Disha, I am getting experience now that's going to help me to build my professional networking platform with skill building, going to hackathons and things like that. For Dr. Edwards, educating patients to advocate for themselves. Well, because I know her personally and she's done this for me and my family, she's already doing it. So the next step is, what is the next step is, thinking about what are three things that you need to do. This is for each of you. What are three things? And you can just write this down in your journal that you need to do, that would be helpful for you to do, whether it is, again, shadowing, interviewing, researching, going to a workshop. What are three things that you can do that will start to get you closer to moving in the direction of your desires? Right? Coaching is all about having thought partnership to really create a strategic plan, to get you to your desired outcomes, and recognizing barriers and opportunities. So that's what coaching is all about. And so that mindset shift, that reframing, I want you to start taking an inventory of what you're saying throughout the day. What of it is life-giving? What of it is negative? Um, are you downplaying yourself? Are you using words that, like, I can't and I don't? Start to check that and start to reframe. And we just gave some examples of that. Doing a daily reflection practice. Those that know me and have been a part of the Utopia brand, one of the things that I'm a big believer in is journaling. The journals for Utopia Global Wellness Retreats have quotes, they have mood trackers, they have setting your intention for the day. It has even in here, what are you releasing for the day? What are you grateful for? Like, all of these things really help to cultivate a mindset of resilience and agility. And then the emotional resilience, cultivating a support group. One of the things that I've loved about being a member of Google for Startups, Techstars, and other notable, incubators and startup organizations is this provided me with a community where they have been able to share with me things that I knew nothing about, and like encourage me to make, to apply for this, apply for that. Or when I'm too tired and I'm like, oh, I'm too tired to do that. Nope, you need to do it. We all need support. We all need accountability, right? That's something else that coaching offers, right? That space for that. And then practicing self compassion. We really need to learn how to give ourselves more grace. A lot of times we're really hard on ourselves. If something doesn't go well, if it doesn't go according to plan, then sometimes that creates a spiral of negative self talk. Everybody has a bad day. And I would say most, if not everybody, falls off. But it's okay. You just get back on, right? So that's it. That's all you have to do is get back up, get back on board. And that's what matters, how you finish and not how you start. Decision agility, rapid prototyping, 70% rule for decisions, creating feedback loop. So you want to move quickly. One of their most dreams and desires die because of procrastination, slow movement, telling your dreams to the wrong people, your goals to the wrong people, not having community, not having accountability, all the things. So, as a key takeaway from this slide, really realizing that resilience and agility are foundational parts of successful pivots. You will fall down numerous times. You have to be determined that you're going to get back up. One of the things that I think that, from a wellness perspective, is taking a pause, taking a break. It might be a couple of days if you need to take a pause. You may feel burnt out. You might need to go on a retreat, reset, and then you get back up and you get back on board. And that's the key to it, right? And if something's not working out, look at what you need to do differently. All right. Then it's recognizing opportunities and challenges. So this is key. I gave a few examples of this, and I've heard you all, even in the chat, give some examples. So I had to recognize some opportunities when we were on pace for just growth and success, and it came to a screeching halt. I could have just gave up, but I didn't. I didn't give up. I said, how can we pivot? And so we went from Spa Utopia to Utopia Global Wellness. And we went from in-person spa services to now bringing wellness to people through Zoom and through their computers. So it's seeing the challenge, the opportunity, and the challenge. The challenge was people aren't going out, people aren't going to work, people are not traveling, they're not staying in hotels. All of those were challenges, but there was an opportunity in that. Well, what can we do? Instead of what can't we do, what can we do? If it's pouring down raining, that's opportunity to sell umbrellas. You know what I mean? So there's always an opportunity. So start thinking about that. And I hear that in each of your responses so far. What are barriers that could serve as potential bridges? What else? Please share in the chat. What are some of the barriers that you're noticing that could actually serve as bridges? And now we want to also think about strategies for transforming obstacles into growth avenues. They go hand in hand. One of the things in coaching too is there's always a reason why we're not currently operating in our utopia living, our desired outcome. There's always a barrier. Sometimes the barrier is funding. Sometimes the barrier is time. Sometimes the barrier is not having enough expertise. Sometimes it's procrastination. Sometimes it's negative self talk. What is getting in the way? Because until you identify the barriers, you're not going to be able to really overcome those and create the bridges. So we always want to find out the barriers. Barriers can become pathways for the right mindset and strategy. So I'll give another example. If one of the barriers is, I don't really know anyone in the industry, but I want to do it, signing up for a conference, going on Eventbrite, networking with people, relationship building, going on LinkedIn, getting involved in some groups, joining some chats. That's just one way to shift from barrier to breakthrough. Coaching question: how might you reframe the barriers you're facing so they become pathways forward with the right mindset and strategy? Fear of failure and resistance to change. Sean, financial strain and time are the biggest. And so when it comes to time, you have to get radically protective of your time. So I would invite you to even write down, like, what are the things you do in a day. If there's a certain amount of time that you're even scrolling on social media or even watching TV. And I'm not saying never to scroll. I'm not saying never to watch TV. Sometimes it's how long we're on conversations with friends or family members that are draining the life out of us, if we're being honest. So where can you get an hour or two back a week? Because you can do a lot in an hour, right? And those little bits of time add up. For some folks, it's delegating. Can you delegate a little bit more at work and or at home or both? All of these things, right? So looking for those time savers. Thanks for sharing. All right. In the interest of time, I'm going to keep it moving. So now we want to really be thinking about aligning our purpose with profitability. So you all were able to think of some barriers, which is excellent. You were able to identify your areas of purpose and passion, which is excellent. So now I want you to be thinking about your why serves as your compass during turbulent times of change. People that know my story, and I'll share a little bit. I always say my why is at an all-time high. I grew up in a entrepreneurial household, also a very health conscious father, marathon runner, healthy eater, all the things. But I also witnessed, my father, he's navigated through like a hero and a champ, having a stroke. And so it really made my antennas go up and say, how in the world does someone that runs marathons have a stroke? How is that possible? But it's because of the compiling impact of stress. 80 to 90% of death and disease is caused by stress. 80 to 90%. So my love for wellness came largely from him, but also my motivation to make wellness accessible for busy, on the go professionals, executives, and people. And realizing that it's not that we can't afford the gym membership, but sometimes we just need things a little bit more accessible. So thinking about that for yourself, right? Doing a values assessment. What are your core values? Even if you write down 3 of your core values, for example, for me, it's my faith, it's my family, it's I say my field. It's also financial freedom. So these are things that having some fun. What is life if it's all work and no play? So these things, what do you value, and even ranking your values. And we'll get into this even more in the 4-part series, follow-on series. But your impact statement, your legacy and vision, what is the imprint you want to leave on the world? And I think it's so important to think about that. And then market alignment, where your purpose intersects with market needs. Like I said, seeing that people's mental health was really suffering and knowing that we could actually provide them with breath work, meditation, journaling, a lot of things that will help stop the progression of things going from stress to then anxiety to then depression, because it's like anything, it's like our bodies, right? We can do things to reel us back in and get a little healthier through diet and exercise before we maybe tip over into diabetes or blood pressure. There are things that we can do. So thinking about that for your area. What is your value proposition? Authentic storytelling. So I just kind of shared a little bit of my personal background and my personal why. Think about how this relates to you, what you've seen, what you've experienced, why you are passionate about this. And then strategic positioning, translating purpose into profit, has to do with premium pricing strategy. Looking at your competitors, you have to know what they're out there doing and why you are unique, valuable, great, and why your pricing is what it is. And then loyalty driven business models and your, like I said, the brand differentiation. So a coaching question I have are, what are 3 areas of expertise you could intentionally pivot into new revenue streams? You've thought of one, and I want you to think of 3 because it needs to be 3. So I'll give you an example. I think it's good to have more than one. The statistics show with the rate of change that it's good to have more than one revenue stream. So for example, we have our online platform, we have our workshops, we have our retreats. So we have 3 core areas of revenue, but we also have product, we have journals, we have books, we have swag. So thinking about that holistic strategy. Feel free to put it in the chat. When your work aligns with your core purpose, customers feel the authenticity, they're willing to pay a premium. And you know what? You're going to be better than your competitors because you just really care. You're deeply, tied to it. So all of that matters. All right. I just switched up my screen on y'all a little bit. Give me just a sec. Let me get back to that. All righty. Okay, so now we want to talk about our pivot action plan. So, assessing your current reality, honestly evaluate your strengths, your gaps, and your available resources. And then, so you would think about that. You've been thinking about your strengths the whole time, but what are some of the gaps? What are some of the things that you need to sharpen that saw a little bit? And then what's available to you? A lot of times there's more available to us than we really realize or that we've leaned into. If you even think about your network, people that you know that might be willing to have a coffee with you if you were to treat them to coffee, or a 10-minute virtual Zoom chat and asking them who else you should know, what other events you should attend, that's worth its weight in gold. Remembering people during the holidays, we talk about this in some of my sessions too, is, the session that I do in terms of position for promotion. Life is so about relationships, right? Identifying those 2 to 3 potential pivots, brainstorming direction aligned with both purpose and profitability. So do a search, go to ChatGPT and then verify, but say, what is the market? What is the market for patient advocacy? The dollar revenue market for that. What are different? You can ask a few questions, use AI, leverage AI, verify, ask for credible sources so you can go back and back up everything that it may provide for you. But that's a quick and easy way to say, what are organizations, or where are the biggest areas of opportunity, for example? And you can ask these things and you will be surprised at how much strategic direction you come up with. Then you want to test minimum viable offer. So create a small experiment that validates your market fit. So that's what we did when we had our 2-week class pass of different classes leading into Thanksgiving when we were pivoting from Zumba to mindfulness. We first did a pilot to see if people were engaged and got feedback. Execute with accountability, set clear metrics, and then enlist support to maintain your momentum. Yeah. All right. Okay. Val, can you just do a quick check? Seeing the screen okay?
Yep, I see it.
Perfect. So, your personal pivot action plan. As we conclude, I want you to reflect on your journey throughout this masterclass, and I want you to share with us in the chat what is one personal commitment that you'll make towards embracing your pivot power? What's one thing you will either stop doing, you'll start doing, or you'll continue doing? One thing you'll stop, start, or continue doing that will help you shift a little bit more towards your pivot plan. All right. So, Val, if you see anything in the chat, feel free. I don't want to shift too much because it's messing up the screen. But if you see anything in the chat, any responses, feel free to chime in and let us know. Or maybe it's easier to think about maybe a key takeaway. What was maybe one or some of the most significant insights that you gained today? Go ahead and jot those down for yourself, and please feel free to share at least one of those in the chat. Would love to hear what resonated with you today. So, 5 key takeaways that we'd like you to make sure that you have as you depart is pivoting is a strategic response. Okay, it's not a failure, it's a strategic response. So many people pack up and shut it down. You all, I could have shut down the Utopia brand so many times, but I love it too much and it's making too much of an impact. And every time I meet a person that's a client, a prospective client, a partner, a team member, and they tell me just how much they are loving their experience or how much they love what we're offering, it's the fuel to keep going. So, but we do have to be agile. Also, resilience and agility are essential to navigating change. Barriers can be transformed into opportunities. Aligning your purpose drives sustainable profit. Strategic positioning enables thriving in times of change. So remember that your greatest transformation often lies on the other side of your biggest challenge. I'm going to say that again. Your greatest transformation often lies on the other side of your biggest challenge. Okay. So, what's next? What's next is the opportunity to take our 4 week group coaching masterclass. And so, these are the things that we will do a deeper dive in because this is just scratching the surface. This is really just getting the juices flowing and the energy going and having coaching, having thought partnership with a trained certified coach with the International Coaching Federation, but even more so, just the experience of coaching for well over 15 years with key organizations, leaders, even CFOs and C-suite leaders from global brands. It really has allowed me to be rewarded by seeing people like really lean in, move in, and see outcomes, their desired outcomes, personally and professionally in record time. I actually have get coaching, and I know that I've been able to see tremendous success from writing a book in 7 weeks, cultivating my focus, taking a coaching workshop on being a writer. So these things really sharpen your saw, and having the collective learning from your other coaching cohorts as well is really where you see tremendous success. And so the 4 week outline gets into a deeper dive around cultivating your resilience and agility through powerful group coaching. That mindset shift, we're going to do a deeper dive focusing on mindset shift and also decluttering. What are the things, the people, the habits, all of the things that are getting in the way of us creating wealth, a wealth mindset, opportunities, partnerships, and positioning. And then transforming our challenges into growth, leveraging targeted worksheets and weekly office hours. So to help you foster your innovation, aligning purpose with profit, aligning your actions with core purpose for sustainable profit and lasting fulfillment. Really being able to create workshop time, deeper dives around the coaching exercises with times to be able to work through those responses and do in real time some research, and having that support, and also being able to scan my network to see where I can make some key introductions for you as well. And we also want to look at strategic positioning for success. So, developing those skills to thrive in uncertainty, turning those obstacles into catalysts for success, and also brand positioning. A lot of times we have to kind of review and realign our own personal and professional brand to really elevate to that next level. And one of the ways you can know you're on track is when you're being invited to be a speaker, when you're invited to be a guest, when you're invited on podcasts, when you have companies that are seeking you out. That goes to show you that you are now moving in that space of enterprise level leadership, and people are seeing you, watching you, and they want to be associated with you, or they're nominating you for things. And that's the goal, is to get you in that position. And then there's opportunities coming to you, right? And then taking that next step is joining our 4-week executive coaching masterclass, which will help you navigate your specific pathways to purpose and profitability. So I also want to share with you some of your VIP Utopia perks that you receive from attending today's session. And so that is 25% off your masterclass. If you're already a part of the Topia community through our retreats, that 25% turns into 50%. So membership has its rewards. We also have another masterclass that will start in November and go into the first week of December, and that's positioned for promotion. So the mindset shift, building value added relationships is so key. Activating allyship and sponsorship. Who are those people that are in your sphere of influence that can help get you promoted to the next level through clients, through promotion, through next opportunities, and how to navigate that. And then elevating your personal and professional brand as a executive leader, if that's what you choose, or even the next level of leadership based on where you are today. And so again, these perks, 25% off masterclasses. I am actually going to extend this to the end of the month because we were supposed to do this class last week. And then $150 off your Bali and Ghana retreat deposits for the whole month. And if you book today, you receive a 3-month Topia membership for yourself, friend, or colleague or loved one. So I just want to say thank you for your engagement. And again, please feel free to put your biggest takeaway in the chat. And if you can drop the link for all things Topia in the chat, Val, that would be fantastic. And you will just click on that link. It'll open up for you. So even when we end the call, you still have the link open, and you'll see my Calendly, so you can schedule, for the session if you're interested in scheduling and getting registered for the 4-week session. All right. Any questions or comments before we log off? So, Kate, love this today. Thank you for your wonderful masterclass. Thanks for joining us. I see that's in there. Adjusting takes so much strength. Remember to take a breath. Yes. So, Disha put, that's great. Adjusting takes so much strength. Remember to take a breath. Keep going. Yeah. So these are great. Thank you all. It's been a pleasure. And follow us at Topia Wellbeing on Instagram and LinkedIn. And for me personally, you can follow me at Utopia Living with Naya, as you see on the screen. And then lastly, for our retreats, Utopia SGW Retreats for Instagram, Utopia SGW Retreats. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening. Take care. All right.